You mentioned that Donald Trump is not popular in this country and the media is to blame. We are going to get to the infighting within the Libs and the leadership battle. But first, I just want to play this utterly unhinged, ill-informed rant on Trump in the Australian media. This is an example of what people on FM radio are hearing. This is just so asinine. This is Gold FM, heard on multiple markets, including Sydney and Melbourne.
I read something yesterday that said...
That's a thing.
That said, Trump officially has entered the psychotic emperor phase. He's not coming back. The Pope image was it. That was the line. He's crossed it and he's just kept walking. He's not trolling anymore. This is clinical delusion. The tariffs on movies, reopening Alcatraz, saying these aren't policies. This is a man deep in a psychotic loop.
I missed that.
He wants to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah. So, and he said, they say here, look, this is what this same thing went on to say. Marga is clapping along like it's a church revival. No one is driving the bus anymore.
Jonesy and Amanda, this sounds like radio for people with room temperature IQ. The Pope image is what's sent her over the edge. It was a joke. I mean, do they seriously think Donald Trump wants to be the next Pope? I mean, I think it sounds like that's what they believe. But what's your reaction? Because it's not isolated. You do hear commentary on US politics in this country that is so comically ill-informed that you dismiss it, but then people who aren't that much into politics hear that and believe it.
Yeah, look, I think the Australian liberal media here or left-wing media here, they read the US left-wing media and then they filter it once again with a left-wing slant. So by the time it gets to Australians, it's just completely unhinged. And I think this is a classic example of that. It's just regurgitating the standard bland slogans and sound bites.
That wouldn't even get on MSNBC. That is so unhinged.
Exactly.
That the ladies of The View would maybe balk at that.
And also, it's just ridiculous. I mean, as if these people, deeply care about Christianity. I mean, they're just making up the fact that they feel offended, from the Pope image.
Yeah, but I don't think, listening to that, she seemed to think it was some sort of a line that was crossed, that it wasn't actually offensive because it was a bad joke, that I think she seems to think he wants to be Pope.
No, I think so. And look, I mean, Trump's the first president where we've had AI, really. So, and he's decided to use it in an amusing way. It never used to exist. It's a new thing, and he's obviously it's funny. I mean, I find it funny.
Who doesn't find it funny?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to find it funny, I think. It's clearly not trying to be Pope.
No, and if you want to find things to be genuinely aghast about, I'm sure you can find them if you could be bothered reading for 5 minutes, but picking things like that. And then they had the most absurd discussion about this new tariff on films that are made outside of the US. Again, not realising that every argument that we're making is precisely the reason why he's introducing this tariff, because it's an America First policy. It's not supposed to help Australia. It's not supposed to help Canada. It's supposed to help American filmmaking. Now, let's get back to the wets in the Liberal Party, pushing for a more moderate leadership ticket, which would include Susan Ley as leader and Ted O'Brien as shadow treasurer. Adam, there are accusations flying all over the place about who is white-anting who, and there are certainly fingers being pointed at Susan Ley. She's been accused of consistently undermining the leader and the party.
Well, look, I don't know the internals of the Liberal Party, the factions and all that sort of squabbling, but the accusation that it was a far-right campaign is kind of absurd. I don't see how they could they could possibly become more moderate. I mean, if you just look at the fiscal outlooks, I mean, the Coalition released their own fiscal outlook just a few days before the election, and it was exactly the same, if not worse, than Labor's in terms of debt and deficit. So, it was basically a Labor-like campaign. So, so the argument that, oh, gosh, they were too far right is just complete nonsense, I think. If they lost because, I mean, if you want to say it was the policy platform that lost them the election, it was because they were too much like Labor, not the other way around. So I think that's the lesson that has to be learnt.
This is the lesson that is never learnt, though. Whenever the Liberals do go moderate, when they become Labor-lite, and they lose invariably when they do that, the lesson is, we need to go more left. We were too scary and right-wing and too wrapped up in the culture wars. And we've seen that in Victoria, we've seen it in WA, and I do fear it's going to happen federally because they always listen to the worst advice imaginable.
But I mean, obviously, whoever becomes leader, I mean, it's basically who wants to lose the next election kind of thing. It's a hospital pass, isn't it, really? It's so I do sympathise with, some of the rumours are that certain people aren't going to run, and that's probably why.
But the it's going to be a long and hard rebuild. So you do need to make this next decision right. You can't just write off the next couple of years.
Yes.
You need to start the work now. And that's where they faltered. And it's what we've been saying on this program all year. They just haven't done the work to be ready for this election. Before you go, there's already power plays happening within the newly re-elected Labor government. The powerful environmental wing of the party is pushing the Prime Minister to adopt a 70+% emission reduction target by 2035. And they also want to pass the so-called nature positive laws within a year. Adam, this would be disastrous for the nation on so many different fronts. The nature positive proposal just in itself would frustrate just about every major development, from mining projects to large-scale building developments, hospitals, new estates, everything.
Yeah, look, we really have to hope that sensible voices in the Labor Party prevail on these issues. It's certainly a much expanded party room. I don't know whether the new Labor MPs are more kind of centrist or left. I'm still yet to read analysis on that. Hopefully more centrist, and they want to keep their seats the next election. And so that actually could be a moderating force on the Labor Party. All of these new MPs, they'll be in seats that could change back next time. They won't want to do anything too extreme. I think that's a good thing. But
that sounds like wishful thinking.
Well, maybe. But just on the emissions, very briefly, look, I mean, if they legislate 70, it's not going to happen anyway. The 43 is not going to happen. They've actually only already
they will
fallen
bankrupt the country trying to get there. That's the fear. Of course, it's not going to happen, but how much damage?
No, true. They will do
a
a lot of damage along the way. That is true.
Adam Creighton, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rita.